you're free to do what you want with it. And we say mostly because in some cases people put limitations on their open education objects. And I'd refer everyone to have a look at Scott Leslie's video on that. He has a very good video on that. David Wiley mentions the 4 R's of the functionalities of open education resources. Reuse, you use the work exactly as you found it. You can rework it, alter or transform the work. You can remix it, combine the work with other works, or you can redistribute it, that is, share with others. And Hodgkins also mentions another use is repurpose. That is, use the work as you found it, but use it in a different context. So, for example, somebody comes up with a statistics course for psychology, and you would reuse that in another statistics course, exactly the way you found it. Or you can take it as you found it and put it into a math course and repurpose it. So although it's originally made for psychology, you can use it in another subject area. So that's the idea of functionality of open education resources. Open education resources are being used for world development, and this is why UNESCO is so interested in them. They have the goal of developing together a universal education resource available for the whole of humanity. And they hope that this open resource for the future can mobilize the whole of the worldwide community of educators. That is, if we all work together on this and start opening up our materials as much as possible, this would be a fantastic tool for development. And right now, there are millions of open education resources that are available. And I have on the picture here just a number of the sites that you can go to find these resources. And some of them are full university courses from accredited institutions. And others are parts of courses and modules, and some are just components. But there is a huge and wide variety, growing variety of open education resources. And one of the sad things is that they are not being used as much as they could be. And people are continuing to spend their time creating resources that are available free now on the World Wide Web. And the OER providers can be divided into different groups. You have the large providers like the World Lecture Hall or MIT, and they're by particular institutions, connections, for example, and then others that are large, and it's the community that controls them, like Ariadne in Europe, or WikiEducator, or the OER Commons. And then you have small ones where individual institutions like the Maricopa Learning Exchange or Athabasca University, where we have a few learning objects available. And then you have smaller ones that are communities like Kuriki or the Content Observatory Systems services. So this gives you an idea of the type of open education resource providers that are out there. The rationale for using open education resources has been, this rationale has been developed by the Open University in the UK. And they look at it as an opportunity. And they feel there's a real risk in doing nothing and not participating in the open education resource world. They believe that OERs can address technology and globalization. They can be used as a test bed for technology and work processes. They can attract external funding and the whole world can be used as a resource. And one of the key aspects that they're looking at is brand promotion. That is, the Open University UK and Athabasca quite recently too has gained a lot of publicity by participating in the Open Education Resource, positive publicity. And it shows it can be used to demonstrate the quality of the materials of the institution. So all of these things are possible. And another rationale for using your open education resources is why not? It's sort of sometimes you can ask people a question, they answer you with a question, and I'm saying, you know, why not? What's there to be gained by closing your material and not letting anyone use it? So there's ownership and licensing issues, and one of the familiar problems is who owns the resources, the educators or the institutions? And people get inflated expectations. They sort of think their little module or their little piece of content is going to turn them into multi-millionaires or make them big bucks at least. And both institutions and educators have been guilty of this. But what we found is that if you try to partner or collaborate with other institutions, if you start getting into ownership and licensing problems, you get yourself into a can of worms, and what happens is most of the money goes to the lawyers. It becomes almost impossible to collaborate. For example, if you have two institutions or companies, whatever, working together, you may have 2 or 4 problems in getting the licensing sorted out. And but if you add a third one, that isn't another 2 or 4 problems. It's 4 times 4, 16 problems. And you add another one, another institution, it's 4 times 16 problems. And the problems just amount and amount until it becomes impossible for you to collaborate. So one of the major arguments for universities to support the open access is that it facilitates collaboration. Nobody's arguing over the intellectual property. New problems, OERs, they're not journal articles in particular. Journal articles, for the most part, there's limitations on reworking them. So some things cannot be as completely open as other things. One question is attribution critical? And I think that's very important for educators, is that they get the right attribution, because that helps increase their reputation and their opportunities for advancement within their field. So attribution is important. Commercial exploitation, some people don't like companies to make money off their material, so they limit that unless they share it. So they limit they choose a non-commercial license. So when we're talking about opening up, there are certain levels of opening up your material. So you have different ownership models in universities. You have the institutional, where institutions claim that the material is all under work for hire, and the law is that unless there is a written agreement to the contrary, your work done during the course of your employment belongs to the employer. And many universities have a shared one where they share between the faculty member and the university, and these often can be quite unworthy.